that Governor Christie withheld Sandy funds unless development project was approved, Rockefeller project was approved. Her name, Mayor Dawn Zimmer. Here she is being asked about the specific charge of what the governor said to her. Remember, this comes out of the scandal that involved the Christie administration members. Reportedly from Chris Christie, he didn't know this was going on, but political payback by closing lanes of a bridge and causing traffic delays in a place where the mayor did not support him. And so this is a different mayor saying something else was threatened in a similar vein. Here is Candy Crawley speaking to the mayor of Hoboken, Dawn Zimmer. Roll it.
You know, the fact is that she came, the lieutenant governor pulled me aside, and she said, essentially, you got to move forward with the Rockefeller project. This project is really important to the governor. And she said that she had been with him on Friday night, and that this was a direct message from the governor.
So she said that to you.
She said that to me, is that this is a direct message from the governor. I was with him on Friday night.
So in May you have this conversation, and the lieutenant governor says to you, this is a direct message from Chris Christie, get behind this project or funds may be in jeopardy for your recovery. And then in August, I think is when you tweeted, I'm so glad he's governor of New Jersey. It's just hard to put those two things together.
Well, again, I mean, I had to, basically almost set aside what she said to me because it is unbelievable, but it's true. It's true, and I'm coming forward, and I didn't feel that we were going to be able to get the funding. I was concerned that people weren't going to believe me. I mean, it's stunning. It's outrageous. But it's true, and I stand by my word, and like I said, I'm willing to testify under oath. And I think when she testifies under oath, we're going to see, if she's asked to testify under oath, I think we're going to see the truth come out, because I believe she will be truthful under oath. And I think, you look at their response, they did not respond to the number one question. Are they linking Hoboken Sandy funding to the Rockefeller project? The fact is they are.
The New Jersey lieutenant governor answered the mayor's allegations today. Here is Lieutenant Governor Kim Gagno, pardon me, and she took them head on. Roll it.
Right now, I think in short, you need to hear me say this out loud, and I will. In short, Mayor Zimmer's version of our conversation in May of 2013 is not only false, but is illogical and does not withstand scrutiny when all of the facts are examined. Any suggestion that Sandy funds were tied to the approval of any project in New Jersey is completely false. Standing in Union Beach, as we are today, with some of the mayors whose towns were devastated by Sandy, and also being a Sandy victim myself, makes the mayor's allegations particularly offensive to me. The suggestion that anyone would hold back Sandy relief funds for any reason is wholly and completely false.
All right. Well, the press has really decided to dig in here, which is great, because when somebody abuses the power and uses their power of government to punish political enemies, thereby punishing the people, it should be exposed. And if they're caught lying, they should resign. Period. I've heard people say nobody died in these uses or alleged uses of power being used to punish or allegedly punish, but they're on it. Where was the press when it came to President Obama using the power of sequester as well as the shutdown to punish the American people and make it difficult as possible? Where was the press? We covered it, sure. Where was the press? Now, that doesn't mean I think it should be all or nothing. I think they could have done both, and they can do both. What about Benghazi? When you have Gregory Hicks contradict Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton being the Secretary of State at the time of the Benghazi attack, and the Secretary of State when the requests for more security were being used or were being put forth. Where was the president? Do we know yet? No, we don't. The press can do its job. It really can. So what does this tell you? Well, it further discredits the press because they have an ideological bent that actually skews their coverage to the degree that it hurts the American people, because when politicians, be they on the federal level or the state level, abuse their power at the expense of the people, the light of truth should be shined on them. Notice we're not talking Republican, Democrat here. We're just talking about the power of the government, right? Something we talked about even last segment. But I wanted to get the facts straight, make sure that we are definitely making informed decisions before we legislate potentially away some of the things that have kept us safe, but I digress. You see, this is what the press is supposed to do, and that's great. They went and said, okay, statement here, statement here. They've got to follow this up. Somebody's lying. Their statements are contradicting. Boom, that's great. Why didn't they do that to Benghazi? Why didn't 60 Minutes run the contradiction of President Obama claiming in the October 16th debate that he called it an act of terror on September 12th, and then the interview, he refused to do it, and Croft asked him flat out, why not? Are you concerned about that? As an American? No hyphen? No R? No D? Are you concerned? Does it tell you that maybe you're not getting the whole story? Maybe this is the first time you've listened to conservative Christian talk radio. Welcome, AFR Talk. Lock it in. You won't be disappointed. Glad you're here. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, proudly on. But this should speak volumes to you that they are really on this. I mean, they're digging. And they won't let go. That's what should happen. It hasn't, because we have seen their protection of a president. And if it's a president with an R or a D, a liberal or a conservative or a moderate conservative, a moderate liberal, a radical, who cares? Their job is to bring us the information. We can make the decision. Why is it that they always attack talk radio? Why is that? Perhaps talk radio is filling in the blanks, and there are a lot of them to fill in. And then they try to marginalize it by saying, oh, you only cover half of the story. Hey, I got news for you. You cover a quarter of it, if that. I mean, could you imagine the outrage? I mean, sideline note here. Could you imagine the outrage where you had somebody, a governor that was conservative, make the statements about pro-abortion politicians? Pro-homosexual marriage politicians? Could you, think about these things. It's disturbing. You say, oh, Crane, I'm already disturbed. I get it. Okay. All right. But follow this, because people are tuning in. You know why? Because things aren't getting better. We're still in a crisis in so many ways. National security, economic. And I'm not saying you live in crisis. No. Our security is not in ourselves. It's not in our government. Our true security, our fundamental security, is in our Lord Jesus Christ. But we actually have a job. We have a responsibility. We enjoy incredible freedom. And a lot of places in the world do not. And so we need to speak up for those that are voiceless. We need to do it domestically for the unborn. We need to do it for the people that desire to be free. We need to do it for our Christian brothers and sisters who are being slaughtered and persecuted all around the world. We need to do it for people who desire to be free and speak out against the injustice that's taking place. Absolutely. We need to do it for Israel that's being marginalized and opposed by our foreign policy. Did you ever think we'd see the day? Many of you probably did. Said, hey, yeah, saw it coming, Crane. That's why we need to stand with Israel. Here is how the case is moving ahead when it comes to Benghazi. Piers Morgan speaking with John McCain. And he actually brings up Chris Stevens. Isn't Chris Stevens at fault for his own death by denying security that would have been offered? Here's that exchange. Roll it.
When you actually get into the weeds of this pretty lengthy report, it is also very clear that one of the people who may be most to blame for not reacting to the threat and for increasing security, despite being urged to repeatedly, was the ambassador himself. And obviously, you don't want to speak ill of a man who was killed in such appalling circumstances, but is it fair to also say that he, as the ambassador, should have done more to react to direct warnings that he was given on numerous occasions?
Well, I think it's important to point out that he had asked for additional assistance. What he turned down was additional military assistance, but he certainly sounded a number of warnings about the deteriorating situation, including 10 terrorist organizations, outfits that were right there in Benghazi. I think that Christopher Stevens was very aware of the threat. He did make the State Department aware of that. And the only time he really turned down help was when it was a uniform military assistance that was offered.
Context makes all the difference. Bottom line, this is how they're going to spin it. It's going to happen every time it is mentioned that it comes up as a story. It's somehow going to move away from the people that were responsible to the people that were not, or at least blur the lines just enough. Know this, the president, do we know where he was that night? Still don't. We know that we were lied to by Susan Rice. What'd she get? She got a promotion. They blamed a video. They seem to think they can rewrite history despite the fact that we have the comments on tape. Maybe they think that everybody's going to try to protect those and remove those like 60 Minutes did only 2 days before the election when they actually released it in a backhanded way about what President Obama said on October 16th and it being not true. Huge, huge deal. Yeah, I agree. It's still Mitt Romney's fault for not going all the way with that, and hindsight 2020, but that's X's and O's when it comes to an election. I'm just talking about the truth. And as Americans, what we should know, and when a news organization has that information, they should release it right away.